And we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. So, welcome to the African History Network show. We have a jam-packed show today. The story about Billie Holiday, jazz singer Billie Holiday, is out and people are talking about it. Remember, Lady Sings the Blues from the 1970s, starring Diana Ross and Billy D. Williams. But Andra Day portrays Billie Holiday in the United States versus Billie Holiday, the United States versus Billie Holiday. So today's show, we're going to talk about the United States versus Billie Holiday and the war on drugs Now, in the film, and hopefully hopefully we don't have any spoiler alerts. In the conversation in this broadcast today, but if we do, it can't. You know how it ends up. Billie Holiday dies at age 44. Okay, so we know how it ended up. But anyway, portrayed in the movie is Harry J. Anslinger. Harry J. Anslinger was the first chairman of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, and you've heard me talk about Harry J. Anslinger on this show numerous times in the past, because Harry J. Anslinger is one of the main reasons why marijuana was made illegal in 1937, because of the marijuana prohibition tax. And even though I'm not a Lee Daniels fan, if you watch my show, you've seen my broadcast in the past, you know that. This movie, I think, is something that everybody should see. And the reason why is because it ties into a lot of history. Lee Daniels is the director. You know, I'm not a fan of Precious or The Butler or definitely not Empire. But because Billie Holiday was a historic figure, and she used her platform to speak out against the injustice and the lynchings of African Americans. And this is what the song Strange Fruit is about. And the United States government saw her, especially Harry J. Anslinger, who was a white supremacist bigot who hated African Americans, who used the N-word frequently, because he deemed her such a threat. They brought her down. He had her set up. They brought her down. So we're going to talk some about this, and this film ties directly into history, and it ties into the history of the war on drugs. And I did a presentation in 2016 dealing with the history of the war on drugs, going back to Richard Nixon's war on drugs that was declared June 17th, 1971. Okay, I know a lot of people think mass incarceration started with the 1994 crime bill. I don't know where the hell you got that from. That's just blatantly false. That means you don't understand history, because the U.S. prison population quadrupled from 1970 to 1993. So I don't know where people got that nonsense from. But when we deal with the war on drugs, it's rooted in racism. And doing my research, preparing for my presentation I did in 2016, dealing with the history of Richard Nixon's war on drugs, as long as white people were using these drugs, it wasn't a problem. The problem came when African Americans started using the drugs, when the Chinese were using the drugs. Now, all of a sudden, now they want to pass new laws to restrict the drugs, and they want to criminalize it. Okay. When we look at the first drug laws in this country, go back to 1875 in California, in San Francisco, dealing with opium. And these are the Anti-Opium Laws, because Chinese men who were working to build the railroads, they were using opium. And the fear was, what happens when these Chinese men are high on opium? Are they going to try to rape white women? So we're going to deal with this history here. And those who saw the movie, let me know what you think about it. But what I'm going to do is deal with a lot of history surrounding what you saw in the movie. Okay, so whether you like the movie or not, or what have you, that's not the point. The point is understanding this history, okay, and understanding what it is that we see depicted in front of us, and understanding how the war on drugs still impacts us today, even though under the Obama administration, the war on drugs was winding down. And the U.S. prison population dropped to its lowest point in 20 years in December 2015 under President Barack Obama. U.S. prison population of African Americans dropped from about 40% down to about 34%. Okay, nobody wants to talk about that unless you watch this show. We deal with that here. Okay, so we'll discuss that, Billie Holiday. Secondly, in our second hour, we'll talk about the U.S. House of Representatives passes the $1.9 trillion stimulus, the American Rescue Plan, as Democrats work to salvage the $15 minimum wage. We know a Senate parliamentarian ruled that the Democrats in the Senate could not include the $15 an hour minimum wage increase in the American Rescue Plan in the Senate using the budget reconciliation process. But Democrats in the House of Representatives early Saturday morning left it in the bill. Now it goes to the Senate for a debate in the Senate. And in the Senate, it will not have the $15 an hour as things stand now. So I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, February 26th, and we talked about this. So in our second hour, I'll share an excerpt of that with you, and we'll talk some about the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, the American Rescue Plan. All right, so on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Sign up for our email newsletter, okay? If you like this type of information, also you can donate to the African History Network. You can support us, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. If you donate through Cash App, make sure you type in the full $ the AHN Show, SHOW, okay? Or visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can still register for the online course that I teach, the 8-week, 16-hour online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We had a great class this past Tuesday with Dr. David Imhotep, author of the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. He was my guest speaker in the class, so we had an excellent class. We dealt with the African presence in the Americas going back tens of thousands of years. As soon as you register for the class, you can watch last Tuesday's class, and then also the Tuesday before that, our guest speaker was Sister Nubia Wardford, cultural anthropologist, and we talked about the origins of ancient Kush and the African queens of antiquity. Okay, so visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. The class meets on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is the first time I've taught this online class since 2019. There's a lot of new information, a lot of new discoveries. We just saw the discovery a couple of weeks ago about the ancient beer brewery, the beer factory found in Egypt that dates back about 5,000 years ago. Okay, we talked about that this past Tuesday in the class. Okay, so the class is regularly $130. It's on sale $80. You can watch from around the world. And we do the classes live on Tuesdays. and they're all recorded. So you can go back and watch them over and over again as well if you miss anything, and you can watch them around the world. Okay. So visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com is right on the homepage, and you can register there. And we'll see you in class this Tuesday. Okay. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. All right, we're talking about the United States versus Billie Holiday and the war on drugs. Now, Billie Holiday spent much of her career being adored by fans. In the 1940s, the U.S. government targeted Billie Holiday in a growing effort to racialize the war on drugs, Now, but to just be honest, the reason why you had a war on drugs is because of African Americans and Hispanics and Latinos, Asians, things like this. As long as white people were using marijuana, it wasn't a problem. Cocaine used to be legal. All these drugs were legal in this country. You've got to understand history, understand this stuff. Okay, all these drugs were legal. As long as white people were using cocaine, it wasn't a problem. Okay, when African American men start using cocaine, then you get the article from the New York Times, February 8th, 1914, called dealing with Negro cocaine fiends. Okay, Negro cocaine fiends have turned to sniffing now that whiskey is prohibited. Okay, it was a big article. Let's pull this up here. We're coming up on the break. I want you to see this. Now, this is from the New York Times, February 8th, 1914. You hear me talk about the fact that I have a subscription to the New York Times. The reason why I have a subscription to the New York Times is because in 2016, when I was doing my research dealing with the history of the war on drugs, I came across this article from the New York Times that was 100 years old. It's from February 8th, 1914. Negro cocaine fiends are a new Southern menace. Murder and insanity increasing among lower class blacks because they have taken to sniffing since deprived of whiskey prohibition. This is an actual article from the New York Times, February 8th, 1914. And since it was over 100 years old, you had to get a digital subscription to be able to access their database to read the article. So that's why that's how I ended up getting a subscription to the New York Times. And it talks about in this article, and there have been others written about it since then. It talks about how the fear was what would happen when these black men were high on cocaine. They asked the question: Do police officers now need to carry a 45 caliber handgun to kill a Negro high on cocaine because a 38 is not powerful enough to do so? So you got to understand the history of this country to understand the laws in this country. All right. So we'll deal with this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. How you doing, Ivory? Go mob frat. Now, this is an article here from thenation.com. I'm not going to stop for the break. Damn the break. We're going to keep going. How the myth of the Negro cocaine fiend helped shape American drug policy. Now, this is from thenation.com talking about the article from the New York Times and what was taking place at that time in 1914. Okay. All right. So everybody stand by. We'll be back from the break in just a minute. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. See, people don't understand history. You have to understand history to understand the laws. You have to understand the laws and policies to understand conditions. Okay, we'll be back from break in 2 minutes. I got to get ready for this next segment here. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 28th, 2021, and we are live. Everybody's doing well. Calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so we're talking about the new movie from director Lee Daniels, The United States versus Billie Holiday. The United States versus Billie Holiday. And we're discussing the United States versus Billie Holiday and the war on drugs. The United States versus Billie Holiday and the war on drugs. Okay, you can give us a call if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600. So right before the break, I was talking about going back, dealing with some of the history of the war on drugs. You have to understand history. You have to understand the historical events, the policies, the ideologies that brought us to where we are today. If you don't understand the laws, you don't understand what's going on today. All this is rooted in racism. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race. Racism occurs when one race of people control the majority of the wealth, power, resources, benefits, privileges, land, access to education, access to opportunity, and they use that to marginalize, subordinate, and do harm to another race of people. Okay, this comes out of the ideology of European white supremacy, and this is for the purpose of preserving genetic white survival on a planet that's less than 10% European. This is what you have to understand. Okay, and the reason why African Americans understanding our history is so important is because of people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past in the present and the future to meet the needs of the community. A people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past in the present and the future to meet the needs of the community. Okay, so we're going to go to clip one in just a second here, Jalen. The interview with Lee Daniels. We'll go to that in just a second. So Billie Holiday spent much of her career being adored by fans in the 1940s. The U.S. government targeted Billie Holiday in a growing effort to racialize the war on drugs, ultimately aiming to stop her from singing her controversial ballad Strange Fruit, which is about the lynchings that were taking place in this country. All right. And it's important to note, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Auschwitz in Poland and the anniversary of in World War II, the troops liberating the prisoners, the Jewish prisoners of the Holocaust in Auschwitz, liberating them. Hitler patterned the Nuremberg laws in Nazi Germany. He patterned those laws after the segregation and Jim Crow laws here in the U.S. But they didn't. But Hitler felt that the Jim Crow segregation laws here in the U.S. did not go far enough. All right. You have to understand how all this history is connected. So, jazz legend Billie Holiday poured her heart into each song, making each one her own with her distinct style. Now, Andra Day, I think, did a fantastic job portraying Billie Holiday. And personally, I think Andra Day could also portray Eartha Kitt, because Andra Day looks like Eartha Kitt also. And Eartha Kitt was persecuted by President Lyndon Johnson, blackballed, banned from the White House, as well for speaking out in opposition to the Vietnam War, and especially African-American soldiers being killed in the Vietnam War. Eartha Kitt was blackballed. Now, Billie Holiday was born on April 17th, 1915. And she once said, quote, "If I'm going to sing like someone else, then I don't need to sing at all. If I'm going to sing like someone else, then I don't need to sing at all." She saw her voice as a musical instrument, and she explained in Hear Me Talking to You by Nat Shapiro and Nat Hentoff, quote, "I feel like I am playing a horn. I try to improvise. What comes out is what I feel. What comes out is what I feel." There's a scene in the movie in the beginning where she's singing All of Me, and she's being interviewed in the beginning of the movie. She's being interviewed by Reginald Lord Devine, May 3rd, 1957. And she talks about how they don't want me to sing Strange Fruit. Now she dies 2 years later, 1959. Um, she talks about how they don't want me to sing Strange Fruit. They just want me to sing All of Me. Okay. Now the song All of Me, um, and I'll pull up the lyrics here. Why don't you take, all of me? Why don't you take all of me? That is a song. We've all heard that song. If you haven't heard Billie Holiday sing the song, you've heard Fred Sanford sing the song. Okay, because on the episode of Sanford and Son, I think it was he and Scatman Crothers. They sing the song "All of Me," and this is Fred Sanford, Red Fox singing the song. Okay, well that is now this is not the "All of Me" by John Legend. I don't want people the Generation Z Y. No, this ain't John Legend "All of Me." Okay, this is this is Billie Holiday "All of Me." Okay, um, so but it's Red Fox and Scatman Crothers singing "All of Me." Okay, you took my kisses and all my love. You taught me how to care. You said, let me see, all of me. Why not? Why not? Why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my lips. I want to lose them. Take my arms. I'll never use them. Okay, your goodbye left me. Uh, your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart. So why not take all of me? That's Fred. That's Fred Sanford and Scatman Crothers. That's Red Fox and Scatman Crothers singing that on Sanford and Son. Okay, that's Billie Holiday. And one of the things that's important, and this ties into, uh, I had other topics planned for tonight, but I was doing research on this movie. We're gonna get to those other topics Monday. We're gonna this is important right here. If you remember, in 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. If you remember a couple weeks ago, maybe about 3 weeks ago, I talked about Zara Cully. Okay, Zara Cully. Now, the name Zara Cully may not seem familiar to you, but everybody knows Zara Cully because Zara Cully was Mother Jefferson on the Jeffersons. Okay. Um, so Zara Cully, she was 86 years old when she passed away. She passed away in about 1978. Okay. And, they wrote that into the script that she passed away. All right. On Good Time. I mean, the Jeffersons. But Zara Cully was born in 1892. Zara Cully, who we saw on the Jeffersons as Mother Jefferson, Zara Cully was born in 1892. Zara Cully was born 3 years before Frederick Douglass died. Frederick Douglass died in 1895. Zara Cully, who we saw in living color on the Jeffersons, Zara Cully was born before Harriet Tubman died in 1913, before Booker T. Washington died in 1915, and before Frederick Douglass died in 1895. So when we watch a lot of these shows, whether it's Sanford and Son, and they're singing Stormy Weather, Don't Know Why There's No Sun Up in the Sky by Lena Horne, and that ties into deep history. Whether they're singing All of Me by Billie Holiday, and that ties into a deep history, or whether we see Zara Cully, who is she's such a historic figure, we just don't know it. I mean, I would like to have a half-hour conversation with this sister. Imagine, I mean, she's born like 27 years after slavery ended. It's possible that she knew like former slaves, right? So all this history is connected. Okay, so let's go back to Billie Holiday here. So not only did Billie Holiday mesmerize with her voice, not only did she mesmerize with her voice, but Billie Holiday also lived a fascinating life filled with tremendous ups and downs. She managed to survive a difficult childhood, often left in the care of cold-hearted relatives, even spent time in a Catholic reform school before joining her mother in New York City. She was the victim of sexual abuse. Her drug addiction was related to the sexual abuse that she sustained as a child and never healed from, really. Before she found fame as a singer, Billie Holiday did whatever it took to survive, including working as a prostitute for a while. She became one of jazz music's great stars, performing with the likes of Count Basie and Artie Shaw. Billie Holiday even appeared in a film with Duke Ellington. Her great talent, however, was later diminished by a bad relationship and alcohol and drug abuse, but she was also set up by Harry J Anslinger, a white supremacist bigot racist. She's also set up by him as well. Okay. So I want to go to this clip here. This is from the Cross Connection, Tiffany Cross, MSNBC. She spoke with director Lee Daniels, director of the film The United States versus Billie Holiday, and Lee Daniels refers to Billie Holiday as the first civil rights activist. She was you could say she was a civil rights activist. She wasn't the first civil rights activist. I don't know where the hell Lee Daniels got that from. Okay, let's go to this clip, Jalen.
What is the government's problem with Billie Holiday? Why is the government always after you? My song, Strange Fruit, it reminds them that they're killing us. Well, why don't you stop singing the damn song? Wouldn't your life be easier if you just behaved?
Hulu's latest biopic, The United States versus Billie Holiday, portrays how the U.S. government used the jazz great's drug addiction against her to stop her from singing Strange Fruit, a song about the horrors of lynching, which has become an everlasting reminder of what it means to be Black in the United States as gentlemen and ladies sing the blues. Joining me to discuss this amazing film is the director of The United States versus Billie Holiday, the amazing Lee Daniels. Lee Daniels, I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you. I was obsessed with Billie Holiday when I was younger, and I watched Lady Sings the Blues maybe over 100 times. So you bringing this unique perspective of her life to film is so awesome, and you know I think you're an artistic genius. So tell me, what was the most challenging thing about bringing this film to life?
Tiffany, like you, I was a kid when I saw Lady Sings the Blues, and it affected me deeply. I think I know that is the reason why I am doing film today, because I'd never seen Black people so elegant, and the music, and Diana Ross at her height, and Billy D. Williams, Richard Pryor. But I think that that's what Black people needed, at the time. We needed to see that. My parents needed to see that. It wasn't the true story of what Billie Holiday's legacy really was about. I believe that she was the first civil rights leader as we know it to be, that she kicked it off with this song, Strange Fruit. And the government was not having it. And they asked her nicely to stop. She wouldn't. And they came after her. They came after her and dogged her to her death.
Southern trees still bear a strange fruit, just by a different name if you think about it. You talked about how Judy Garland's drug addiction was seen as a health problem, while Billie Holiday's was seen as something to be criminalized. In making this film, you've also talked about your own journey on sobriety, which also hits close to my heart as well. Tell me what is it like making a film in a clearer state of mind, perhaps? As you said, you had to be to make this film and bring it to life.
Mm-hmm. It's really painful, and it's and through this journey, I'm okay with it to even talk about it. I think part of me honoring Billie was to do what it was that she didn't have the support to do, and that's to talk about it openly and candidly. Addiction is real, and when you look at Black oppression and what they had done to us over the years, I'm surprised we ain't all addicts. You know what I mean?
Right.
Really, it's real, and we're embarrassed to talk about it. And if I can just help one person by talking about what it is that I've experienced, what Whitney experienced, what Prince experienced, what Michael Jackson experienced, what Billie Holiday experienced, if we could save just one life, I'm doing good with this movie.
I love that. So I want to ask you about the Golden Globes. This is something, just my own personal perspective. Every year we talk about the lack of diversity in the award shows. And really, I think that these awards matter. Like, you make great art, and I love it. I watch it. What do I care? The white, establishment acknowledges your work. The people love it. So let me ask you, do you think these awards matter?
I think that, here's the thing. I think that when you think of the reviews that come out with that try to understand me, when they try to really understand that they can actually say that they speak about the lens that I see the world and can judge me from what it is as a Black gay man, they can, and the same with the awards. It is a joke. Of course it's a joke. And I think that sadly we have to embrace it because awards means more eyeballs on our film. So it's this weird sort of, but as I've grown as a filmmaker, girl, bye. You got to do what you got to do. And well enough, if I'm hitting you, if I'm hitting my mom, if I'm hitting the people that I made this film for, that's all that matters really at the end of the day. And we have to figure out a system that works for Black cinema, because they choose one or two and then they run with it,
Yeah, I completely agree. The people, the rising majority of this country, ride with you, brother. So thank you for all the beautiful work that you've given us. And thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to join me. And everybody, please watch The United States versus Billie Holiday. It's an amazing film. And this time went so quick because that's our show for today. Lee Daniels took us home.
Okay, so that is Tiffany Cross from February 27th, 2021, The Cross Connection, MSNBC. Director of the new film, The United States versus Billie Holiday, calls icon first civil rights activist. Now, we can call her a civil rights activist. She wasn't the first. What was Ida B. Wells? Ida B. Wells was a co-founder of the NAACP in 1909. Come on, Lee. All right. Okay. All right. I know you're trying to sell the movie, but you don't have to oversell it now. Come on. All right. So, I want to go to this is how we're going to do it. I want to go to a brief bio, a brief overview of Billie Holiday. BlackPass.org has a good write-up on Billie Holiday. Then we're going to get into Billie Holiday, the United States versus Billie Holiday, and the war on drugs, okay, and deal with that history. So Billie Holiday is considered by many, and let me pull this up here. Look at the lyrics to All of Me, because a lot of this stuff, when you start tying what we see in some of these shows from the 70s and things like this, right? And this is one of the things I like to do. I like to tie all that into history, because there's history in all of this, okay? And a lot of the things that we see on television, even though some of it is nonsense, and there are some nonsensical things on Sanford and Son. I've been critical of that, but there's also things. I mean, there's an episode of Sanford and Son where you remember when Lamont was choking a white woman in the living room, right? That they were rehearsing Othello. So then Lamont says Othello was a Moor. Okay, so they put that right into the show, and then that deals with the history of the Moors in Europe, taking the teachings from ancient Egypt, ancient Africa into Europe, bringing Europe out of the Dark Ages. All right, and then that was a mistake that they did that, but still, it's history. Okay, so Billie Holiday is considered by many critics, and we'll go to the phone lines in just a minute, and fans to have been one of the most important jazz vocalists of the 20th century. Her difficult life of poverty, abusive relationships, and drug abuse helped give her voice a deep, raw emotion that was expressed in the music she sang. Now, Billie Holiday was born Eleanora Fagan, Fagan, Eleanora Fagan, on April 7th, 1915, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was born to teenaged unmarried parents. Her mother's name was Sarah Julia Sadie, was her nickname, Fagan, Sarah Julia Fagan, and her father's name was Clarence Holiday, Holiday. Not long after Eleanor's birth, Eleanor Fagan's birth, Billie Holiday's birth, her father, Clarence Holiday, abandoned his family to pursue a career as a jazz, banjo, and guitar player. Because her mother worked as a maid on passenger railroads, Billie Holiday was raised by her half-sister's mother-in-law, Martha Miller. Her half-sister's mother-in-law, Martha Miller. Billie Holiday frequently skipped school and was often brought before juvenile court. By age 11, Billie Holiday had dropped out of school. After she fought off an attempted rape in 1926, she was held in protective custody and released in 1927 at the age of 12. By the age of 14, Billie Holiday was a prostitute in New York's Harlem. After a brief period when she and her mother were in jail for prostitution. Okay? After a brief period when she and her mother were in jail for prostitution, Billie Holiday escaped that life by singing in Harlem nightclubs. She changed her name, choosing her first name, Billie, after a favorite movie actress, Billie Dove, Dove, and adopting the surname of her absent musician father, Clarence Holiday. Now, in 1933, record producer John Hammond heard Billie Holiday sing and arranged for her to make her debut recording in November of 1933 at the age of 18, when the Benny Goodman Band, okay, who white people call the King of Swing, Benny Goodman, okay, Count Basie was really the King of Swing, or you may say Duke Ellington, but they call Benny Goodman the King of Swing, like they call Elvis Presley the King of Rock and Roll. There was an article. It's so many articles that I posted dealing with history. We can't get to all of them on the show, but there was an article I posted a few days ago talking about Big Mama Thornton. And Big Mama Thornton was the one who originally recorded Hound Dog. And she basically got pushed to the side once Elvis Presley recorded Hound Dog. Okay. And Elvis Presley, his gyrations and things like that. Now, to me, it looked like Elvis Presley was having a fit. Okay. The way he danced, it looked like he was having a fit or had ants in his pants or something. But, you know, white teenagers thought he could dance. To me, it looked like he had to go to the bathroom or had ants in his pants or was having a fit. Okay. You know, and there's some songs by Elvis I like, but it's like, oh, slow down. Come on. You know, when Elvis Presley met Little Richard, Elvis Presley called Little Richard the King of Rock and Roll. Come on. Pump your brakes now. Come on now. All right. All right, so in 1933, record producer John Hammond heard Billie Holiday and arranged for her to make her debut recording in November 1933 at the age of 18 with the Benny Goodman Band. Now, her recording, Riffin' the Scotch, R-I-F-F-I apostrophe. This recording sold 5,000 copies, and by 1935, Billie Holiday had signed with Brunswick Records. She teamed up with band leader Teddy Wilson and produced a number of jazz hits. She also reconnected with jazz saxophonist Lester Young, whom she first met in 1934. Lester Young gave her the nickname Lady Day, and she in turn called him Prez, which was short for president of the saxophone, because he was a saxophone player. I used to play saxophone like 5th grade, 6th grade. I need to pick that back up. Saxophone is an African instrument, by the way, also, just like the banjo. Okay, they have their origins in Africa. I need to start playing the saxophone again. Now, beginning in 1937, Billie Holiday worked with Count Basie, and by 1938 with Artie Shaw, becoming the first African-American woman to sing, African-American female singer to tour with a mostly white band. Now, on April 20 of 1939, Billie Holiday recorded her most controversial song, Strange Fruit, okay, which was an unabashed protest of Southern lynching. It became her second biggest selling record, but it also prompted a visit from the FBI. Okay. Now, her most popular recording, God Bless the Child, came when Billie Holiday's mother, who became a restaurant owner, refused to give Billie Holiday money. Billie Holiday reportedly stormed out of the restaurant saying, God bless the child that's got his own. And you remember the TV show Rock, okay? And they would play that song on Rock, and the theme song, God bless. So it was like the first few seasons. Then when En Vogue sung the theme song, then they changed the theme song. But remember on some early episodes, early seasons of the TV show Rock, God Bless the Child Has Got His Own by Billie Holiday. They played that song. See, all this stuff is like right there. You see these little elements in TV shows, sitcoms, things like this. So when we see these elements that tie into history, we have to connect all of this together. Okay, so her most popular recording, God Bless the Child, came when Billie Holiday's mother refused to give her any money. Her mother became a restaurant owner. A band member heard the words, heard Billie Holiday say, God bless the child that's got his own, and turned these words into a song. And Billie Holiday recorded the song in 1940. God Bless the Child became Billie Holiday's only million-selling record. God Bless the Child became Billie Holiday's only million-copy selling record. After 1940, Billie Holiday moved away from jazz and began to record ballads such as Lover Man Don't Explain, and Good Morning Heartache. She performed at venues such as a sold-out Carnegie Hall in 1948, and later that year starred in a Broadway musical titled Holiday on Broadway. Yet her success was not enduring. After recounting the misery in her personal life in song during this period from several abusive husbands, she expressed her emotions in her voice and created extraordinarily powerful recordings against a background of despair and depression. Her addiction to heroin, however, sent her life in a rapid downward spiral in the late 1940s. She was repeatedly arrested and eventually lost her cabaret license in 1950. Now, Billie Holiday's last major hit was Fine and Mellow. It was released in 1957. By that point, the years of addiction had taken a toll on Billie Holiday's body and her voice. 44-year-old Billie Holiday died on July 17th, 1959 of cirrhosis of the liver at Metropolitan Hospital in New York City. Okay. Now, in the movie, when the movie opens up, is May 3rd, 1957, and she's being interviewed by Reginald Lord Devine, 1957. That's the same year of her last major hit, Fine and Mellow. Okay, check this entry out here from blackpast.org, blackpast.org. Billie Holiday, 1915 to 1959. Blackpast.org has about 6,000 pages of articles dealing with African history and African American history. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to John, line 1. John, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from, John.
Well, I'm calling from the east side of Detroit, Hotel. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, no problem.
I want to do a rep and check with you. You said this movie's going to come out when?
It's already out. It's on Hulu. It's on Hulu, the streaming service. It's already out.
Okay.
It just came out.
Is it in a place that you can go buy the tapes and so forth, or the tapes and movies?
I don't think you could do that. I think that's illegal, John. But
Okay.
but
I just want people to know that you can put it down when the ghost can get to it, so people won't say, I missed it. I'm sorry, I didn't see it, and all that stuff.
Right. Right.
You were speaking. You talked 2 or 3 subjects you were talking about Egypt and the Moors and so forth. Did you know who hosted the overflow the Moors in Egypt?
You said okay, your voice is a little muffled, John. You said now, what about the Moors in Egypt? What'd you say now?
I said, did you realize that when they was in the heyday, and they were controlling a lot of Egypt and so forth, and did you know who the Egypt overthrow them and so forth? And what their country name that they bombing down? What their country name over there now? When the Al-Qaeda and all of them was going over there tearing down them.
You talking about Afghanistan? You talking about Afghanistan?
No, the other place.
Iran or Iraq? What are you talking about?
Iraq. That's right, Iraq.
Okay.
And you know, they were the ones that whole Egypt overthrow the Moors and so forth, and they considered them white, but they didn't never on the purity and so forth. And so I just wanted to express that knowledge and so forth, what I learned about them. And the people over there were going to tear down those statues and all them. They had a lot of problems with the Europeans. Had a lot of problems putting them tearing it down because they said that was a lot of fake and so forth, fake and so forth. That wasn't the true history of rats and so forth.
Okay.
And so I just want to know were you familiar with it? So I will keep listening because you've been here with a lot of stuff, good service and so forth. And thanks for the program about Miss Billie Holiday because I definitely want to see that movie and so forth.
Right. Okay, John. All right, John. Thanks for calling. All right. Okay. Let's continue here. We're coming up on a break here in just a minute. So I want to keep going before the break. Okay, 313-778-7600 is the calling number. If you have a quick question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the calling number. Okay, let's see. Why isn't this coming up? All right, we'll pull up this picture once again here. When we come back, we're going to continue this discussion and we're going to get into some history dealing with Harry J Anslinger and the war on drugs. Okay, Harry J Anslinger, who declared war on Billie Holiday. Okay, and this ties into the history of the war on drugs, and it deals with racism as well. And we have to understand that racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, coming out of the ideology of European white supremacy. So, okay, I have to see why this picture is not coming up, but we'll deal with this on the other side of the break. All right, so check out that article from blackpast.org. All right, now there's a good article from biography.com that deals with Billie Holiday and how the government targeted the strange fruit singer with drug arrests. Billie Holiday and how the government targeted the strange fruit singer with drug arrests. Okay, we'll talk about that on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, WFDF. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. Just 1 second. Just. Okay, we should be back here. All right, one commercial break. Stand by. We'll be back in 3 minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? We've got Sandy, and let's see here. Everybody share this broadcasting and social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. All right, we'll be back from break in 2 minutes. Okay, stand by, everybody. We're back from break in 1 minute.
Detroit, 910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media. The views expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 28th, 2021. We're at the end of African American History Month, but we know that we keep going and keep celebrating and studying our history 365 days a year. But we honor Dr. Carter G. Woodson and Association for the Study of African American Life and History for the creation of Negro History Week, which started the second week in February 7th, 1926. Okay, so in our first hour, we talked about the movie, The United States versus Billie Holiday, and we talked some about the war on drugs, the United States versus Billie Holiday and the war on drugs. Okay, we're going to continue this discussion here, and I'm going to share some more articles with you, some more history that ties into this. There was a article that I saw from thegrio.com, really good article from the Grio. Andra Day on trauma of portraying Billie Holiday. I hated myself in the moment. Andra Day, who portrayed Billie Holiday, of portraying Billie Holiday, I hated myself in that moment. The Grammy-nominated singer opens up about her starring role in the United States versus Billie Holiday. Okay, so we'll try to squeeze that in as well. Now, there was a so many people saw Lady Sings the Blues, right? And I'm going to pull up some information here dealing with that. Because some of these same people we saw portrayed in Lady Sings the Blues. Okay, so Billy D. Williams was Louis McKay. Virginia Capers was Billie Holiday's mother. let's see. Just a second here. I'm looking at this. Go to imdb.com and look up Lady Sings the Blues, okay? And you can start making the connection between some of the actors and who they portrayed. Scatman Crothers was in Lady Sings the Blues. He portrayed Big Ben, and we know Scatman Crothers and Red Fox, they were singing All of Me on an episode of Sanford and Son, which was sung by Billie Holiday. So there was an article from biography.com dealing with Billie Holiday. And this one is Billie Holiday, how the government targeted the strange fruit singer with drug arrest. Billie Holiday, how the government targeted the strange fruit singer with drug arrest. Okay, and let me pull this back up here. So in 1939, Billie Holiday rode the service elevator in the Midtown Manhattan hotel on her way to sing on stage. Of course, the hotel had a front door, but Billie Holiday was not allowed to use the front door because she was African American. Little did she know this. Little did she know this was just the beginning of the troubles that will follow her that night. This is in 1939. Now, Billie Holiday stuck to her set list, including singing the song "Strange Fruit," a hauntingly emotional song against lynching, with lyrics like "Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves, and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees." Now, her self-described way of being able to, quote, sing like an instrument, end quote, made the performance particularly effective. But that night, Billie Holiday received a warning from the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, the FBN, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, which was a government agency which lasted from 1930 to 1968. The warning was she was never to sing the song again. Now, the link between the song "Strange Fruit" and the anti-drug agency, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, may feel disjointed, except the Federal Bureau of Narcotics commissioner, the white supremacist Harry J. Anslinger, drew a direct correlation. To Harry J. Anslinger, Billie Holiday was like the symbol of everything that America had to be afraid of, said Joanne Hari, who wrote the book Chasing the Scream, the first and last days of the war on drugs, in a interview with WNYC. Hari said, quote, "She had a heroin addiction because she'd been chronically raped as a child, and she was trying to deal with the grief and the pain of that." Okay, and let me turn on the screen. Let me flip over here. Show this article here for just a second. This is a deep article from biography.com. And they have a picture of Harry J. Anslinger here also. Now, I've talked about Anslinger a number of times on this show. You have to understand history to understand the war on drugs. Okay, because a lot of people don't understand the war on drugs and don't understand history. All of this is connected. So let me flip over here just a second. All right. Check out this article here from biography.com. Billie Holiday, how the government targeted the strange fruit singer with drug arrests. Okay. This is from February 26, 2021. Billie Holiday, how the government targeted the strange fruit singer with drug arrests. The Federal Bureau of Narcotics relentlessly pursued Billie Holiday, the chase largely fueled by Commissioner Harry J. Anslinger's biases. Okay. So here's a picture of this white supremacist, Harry J. Anslinger. To Harry Anslinger, Billie Holiday was like the symbol of everything that America had to be afraid of. She had a heroin addiction because she had been chronically raped as a child, and she was trying to deal with the grief and pain. She was trying to deal with the grief and pain of that. And also she was resisting white supremacy. Billie Holiday was resisting white supremacy. And she was targeted for this, just like Eartha Kitt was targeted. And when she insisted on continuing on her right as an American citizen to sing strange fruit, Harry J. Anslinger resolves to destroy her. Now, Anslinger was widely known as an extreme racist in the 1920s. When Harry J. Anslinger first took on the role in the new agency that was part of the Treasury Department, he was determined to eradicate all drugs everywhere. He had previously been part of the Department of Prohibition, but since the prohibition had been abolished, he was more determined than ever to make a strict stance on drugs. All right. Now, let me bring back up the picture of Lady Day. So it's important also to understand the impact of the story from the New York Times that I showed you from February 8th, 1914. Negro cocaine fiends are a new Southern menace. And let me show you this quickly here for those just tuning in who didn't see this in the first half. This is a historic article from the New York Times from February 8th, 1914. This is exactly 1 year before the movie The Birth of a Nation came out, and the movie The Birth of a Nation rejuvenated the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan had largely died out by 1915. The Ku Klux Klan is going to be rejuvenated in October 1915 by Reverend William Joseph Simmons. He was a minister. Reverend William Joseph Simmons, October 1915, after seeing the movie The Birth of a Nation, which made the Ku Klux Klan the heroes of like white America in this movie. The movie The Birth of a Nation debuted February 8th, 1915. Exactly 1 year before that movie, this was a front page article for the New York Times. Negro cocaine fiends are a new Southern menace. Murder and insanity increasing among lower class blacks because they have taken to sniffing cocaine since deprived of whiskey by prohibition. Okay, and then also look at this article here from thenation.com. This one is dealing with how racism and stereotypes and lies shape drug policies, how the myth of the Negro cocaine fiend helped shape American drug policy, how the myth of the Negro cocaine fiend helped shape American drug policy. And then you're going to see, as I lay this out with Harry J. Anslinger, you're going to see how Harry J. Anslinger lied in his testimony in front of Congress in 1937, which led to marijuana being made illegal, which led to marijuana being made illegal. This is why when I hear people, and I've talked about this here before, when I hear people say, oh, marijuana shouldn't be made legal, things like this. No, the first question you have to ask is, why was marijuana made illegal in the first place? Because it used to be legal. Cannabis and hemp, all that stuff, that was legal for decades. Why was it made illegal? It had nothing to do with, it causes brain damage. That wasn't why it was made illegal. No, it was a war on jazz singers. It was a war on jazz music. It was a war on African Americans and Mexicans. It's white supremacy and racism. And if you do not understand European white supremacy and racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you think that you understand will totally confuse you, as Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and Neely Fuller correctly taught us. So how the myth of the Negro cocaine fiend helped shape American drug policy. In 1914, a racist fiction helped sell one of the nation's first drug laws. 100 years later, it's still with us. This article by Carl L. Hart is from January 29th, 2014. So this is one of the articles that I was reading when I was doing my research dealing with the history of the war on drugs for my presentation that I did in 2016 dealing with the history of Richard Nixon's war on drugs and how Richard Nixon's war on drugs was a war on the African-American community. Okay, once again, people want to talk about mass incarceration. Mass incarceration goes back to the early 1970s. That's where you see the prison population starting to increase. Before then, there was relatively low prison population. That don't have nothing to do with the 13th Amendment. That's more BS that people don't understand. 13th Amendment is 1865. Why the hell it take 106 years for mass incarceration to take off if the 13th Amendment was written to re-enslave African Americans and create mass incarceration, all this stuff? No. I'm Dr. Darrell Scott, history professor at Howard University, who teaches a class on from slavery to mass incarceration, and has been speaking out about this whole 13th. He calls them the 13thers, who think that the 13th Amendment created a loophole to re-enslave African Americans and to create mass incarceration, all this stuff. It's 106 years from 1865 to 1971. He sent me an essay that he just wrote. I've been trying to interview him. So he said, I've been trying to interview him for some months, but he said, he's contacting me because he's ready for an interview, because we're going to put the history out to dispel all these myths. This is one of the problem. I like Ava DuVernay, but her documentary 13th is extremely flawed. It's historically flawed because her whole premise is flawed. All right, so Harry J. Anslinger was widely known as an extreme racist in the 1920s. When Anslinger first took on the role in the new agency that was part of the Treasury Department, he was determined to eradicate all drugs everywhere. He had previously been part of the Department of Prohibition, but since the prohibition had been abolished, the prohibition of alcohol, since that had been abolished, he was more determined than ever to take a strict stance on drugs. All right. Now, and see the whole thing with prohibition. Okay. That was targeting, the Ku Klux Klan was for prohibition. And there's a documentary on it's either the American Heroes Channel or the History Channel. It's a documentary I saw that dealt with how the Ku Klux Klan gave rise to the mafia. And it dealt with how the Klan, who's made up of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant males. There's a whole history about Anglos and the Saxons, two Germanic groups of barbarians. And England is named after the Anglos. There's a whole nother history. I don't have time to get into that. But the Klan, they had a problem with alcohol because of, and the beer and things like this, because of who was making it, like the Germans and these other European immigrants that the white Anglo-Saxon male Protestant immigrants had a problem with. So, and by supporting prohibition, this then gave rise to the Italian mafia, the Italian immigrants, but also during prohibition, this is going to give rise to the Jewish mafia. And we know 80% of the illegal alcohol that came into the U.S. came from Canada into Michigan, basically Canada into Detroit, because Detroit, Canada is just right across the Detroit River. Okay, you go down to Hart Plaza, we can look across the water and see Canada. Okay, the Purple Gang, which was a Jewish criminal gang, the Purple Gang, controlled the flow of alcohol coming from Canada into the US, coming through Detroit. So the Ku Klux Klan supporting prohibition helps to give rise, I'm not saying they created it, but it helps to give rise to organized crime, helps to give rise to the Italian mafia, the Jewish mafia, because it then helps to create this underworld, this black market for alcohol during Prohibition. There's a fascinating documentary that dealt with how the Ku Klux Klan gave rise to the Italian mafia, things like this. Al Capone and Frank Nitti, all these guys that you see on the Untouchables TV show. Okay, well, all this history is connected. All right, we're coming up here on the break in just a minute here. Let's continue. Okay, so among Harry J. Anslinger's strategies was his belief that jazz music was a part of the problem. Because originally jazz music was called jackass music, okay? And it was something associated with largely African Americans. Now, quote, it sounded like the jungles. Harry J. Anslinger said it sounded like the jungles in the dead of night. A memo he wrote said, while another said, quote, unbelievably ancient, indecent rites, R-I-T-E-S, of the East Indies are resurrected, end quote. And that the songs, quote, reek of filth. The songs reek of filth. Now, his agents even reported back to him that, quote, many among the jazz men think they are playing magnificently when under the influence of marijuana, but they are actually becoming hopelessly confused and playing horribly, end quote. So he launches this campaign against marijuana. He writes essays, he writes articles. You also have a movie out called Reefer Madness, and they're using the media to then shape the way or reshape the way people think about marijuana, to then justify making marijuana illegal, and is largely based upon lies and stereotypes and racism. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation and Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? How y'all like this type of information? Stand by, everybody. Okay, we'll be back from break in 2 minutes. Okay, let's see here. We'll be back from break in 1 minute. All right, if y'all like this type of information, also, you can support us. You can support us through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, then PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Also, be sure to register for the online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. All right, welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 28th, 2021. It's the last day of African American History Month, but you know, for us, it doesn't stop. We don't just deal with our history 1 month out of the year, and it was never designed to be the only time of the year that we study our history and things like this. It's a celebration of our history and accomplishments and achievements. So you'll hear more about that as well, dealing with African American History Month and this year's annual theme, which is the Black family representation and the Black family representation, diversity, and I'll pull it up here just a second here. Okay, let me pull up this other picture. All right, 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment here. So we're talking about the United States versus Billie Holiday and the war on drugs. In the new movie out about Billie Holiday from director Lee Daniels, it premiered on the streaming service Hulu, and I just renewed my subscription to Hulu. I haven't had Hulu in 3-4 years, but because of this, because I'm talking about it, I renewed my subscription to Hulu. Okay. And I mean, Hulu's a good service, but I'm just so busy. And I had Netflix. I let Netflix lapse because I only watch Netflix once a month. So, you know, most of the time I have on MSNBC, and MSNBC is on right now. It's just muted. Okay. So a lot of this stuff, man, I don't have time to watch. But, you know, a lot of these historical films, you know, I want to see them. All right. All right. Okay, so let's continue here. Okay, so right before the break, we were talking about Harry J. Anslinger. Now, the reason for Harry J. Anslinger, who was the first chairman of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, the reason for his targeting of a genre of music came down to his widely known bias. Quote, you have to understand that he was regarded as an extreme racist in the 1920s. Okay. He used the N-word so often in official memos that his own senators said he should have to resign. And in the movie, he's using the N-word freely. Okay. This is how much of a bigot he was. So the policies that he fought for followed his warped mindset, his warped thinking, the hatred that he had. The policies he followed and the policies he pushed for and who he targeted followed his mindset. Your thoughts create feelings, your feelings create actions and behaviors, your actions and behaviors create results. Your thoughts create feelings, your feelings create actions and behaviors, your actions and behaviors create results. So the controversial nature of the song Strange Fruit among the musicscape at the time gave him the excuse he needed to go after Billie Holiday. Quote, this was not a time when there was political pop songs, Harry said. Quote, and to have an African-American woman standing in front of a white audience singing a song against white supremacy and its violence was viscerally shocking at the moment. Coupled with Billie Holiday's known struggles with alcohol and drug addiction over the year, Harry J. Anslinger became laser focused on taking Billie Holiday down. And let's flip over here to back to this article for just a second. So what you see here, once again, politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. We see the correlation between government and who is in office, who's in various positions. We see the correlation between that and policy. Okay, now here's a picture of Billie Holiday also. This is from 1949. Okay, this is 10 years before she passed away. Now, Harry J. Anslinger sent undercover agents after Billie Holiday. Okay, we'll continue with this here. Just a second. Let's bring that back up. So he sent undercover agents after Billie Holiday. One of them was an African-American man, Fletcher, you saw portrayed in the film. And despite the fact that Harry J. Anslinger did not like hiring African-American agents, I wonder what he said about them behind their backs. He assigned Jimmy Fletcher to investigate Billie Holiday since she was based in Harlem, New York, and he wanted his agent to be able to blend in. Jimmy Fletcher himself believed, quote, "You victimize yourself by becoming a junkie," end quote. So he seemed like the right fit for the job. Now, Jimmy Fletcher soon frequented Billie Holiday's neighborhood and saw her drinking and doing cocaine firsthand. And you see this depicted in the film towards the beginning of the movie. But Billie Holiday noticed him around too and grew to like him. Although Jimmy Fletcher did eventually have to raid her, they grew close and were even seen dancing together at Club Ebony. Quote, "I had so many close conversations with her about so many things," Jimmy Fletcher later said, according to Harry, who said the agent fell in love with Billie Holiday. She was the type who would make anyone sympathetic because she was the loving type. Okay, so this is Joanne Hari in an interview with WNYC, author of the book Chasing the Scream, the first and last days of the war on drugs. Chasing the Scream, the first and last days of the war on drugs. Okay, let's continue here. So let me flip back over. Here we go. All right. So Billie Holiday's husband worked with the Federal Bureau of Narcotics also to set her up. So around the time, Billie Holiday would often show up to her performances beaten by her husband. Louis McKay, her husband, Louis McKay. So she eventually cut him off. He was so enraged, even being quoted as saying, quote, "I got enough to finish her off," end quote. Mari wrote in Politico.com. Louis McKay went down to Washington, D.C., met with Harry J. Anslinger, and they decided that Louis McKay would set Billie Holiday up. Billie Holiday was caught and put on trial. Quote, "It was called the United States of America versus Billie Holiday, and that's just the way it felt," Billie Holiday wrote in her autobiography. Despite telling the judge that she simply wanted the opportunity to recover and find, quote unquote, the cure, she was sentenced to a year in prison in West Virginia, where she had to kick her drug habit, but also did not sing a note. When she was released from Alderson Federal Prison in 1947, her license to perform at cabarets was revoked, but that did not seem to faze her. Shortly thereafter, she played a sold-out show at Carnegie Hall, a venue she went on to perform at more than 22 times. Now, even after reportedly being framed, Billie Holiday continued to perform the song Strange Fruit. Now, Harry J. Anslinger wasn't done with Billie Holiday. He recruited Colonel George White, who was a, quote, sensation as the first and only white man ever to infiltrate a Chinese drug gang. And he even learned to speak in Mandarin Chinese, so he could chant their oaths with them, end quote. At a time when Billie Holiday claimed she had been clean for more than a year, Colonel George White busted Billie Holiday at San Francisco's Mark Twain Hotel, saying he found opium in a wastebasket and a heroin kit in the room. It's pretty clear, I think, from reading the historical documents that Colonel George White planted drugs on Billie Holiday that night. Johan Harry said, quote, "She's broken and destroyed again. She's really back on the path of addiction," end quote. Now, this time, things didn't quite bounce back. Billie Holiday would go through remission only to be addicted once again, and her career spiraled along with it. But she kept performing through the 1950s, and most importantly, she kept singing the song Strange Fruit. The king of courage, not only that, the kind of courage, not only that she would risk her career and her career mobility, but that she actually risked her life and her freedom because she felt that she had to sing this song. Farah Jasmine Griffin of Columbia University's African American and African Diaspora Studies told NPR, National Public Radio. Now, Harry J. Anslinger continued to pursue Billie Holiday in the hospital. One day in 1959, and this is the same year that she died, one day in 1959, Billie Holiday collapsed and was sent to the hospital. And she feared Harry J. Anslinger was not done with her yet, even after she was diagnosed with liver disease. Johan Harry said, quote, "So she's very ill and she goes into heroin withdrawal because she's not given any heroin in the hospital." And Maylie Dufty, Tufty, her friend, managed to insist that she was given methadone, and she began to recover. Obviously, heroin withdrawal is very dangerous if you're extremely physically weak, as she was, end quote. And then Billie Holiday's worry came true. Harry J. Anslinger's team arrested her on her hospital bed. Quote, it sort of was like the last straw that the public or the system could do to her. And I think that really took the heart out of her. Billie Holiday's friend, Alice Verbsky, said, "It became clear what was happening, and protests were even held outside the hospital as people carried signs saying, 'Let Lady Day live. Let Lady Day live,' referring to her by her nickname, Lady Day. But after 10 days, the methadone was cut off on Harry J. Anslinger's instruction." This is, you got to be a vile white supremacist, bigot, racist. Harry J. Anslinger probably would have been storming the U.S. Capitol building January 6th with the other domestic terrorists. After 10 days, the methadone was cut off on Anslinger's instruction. Alice Verbsky, Billie Holiday's friend, said she was in very bad shape. I could see on her face and in her whole condition that she was not well. And on July 17th, 1959, Billie Holiday died. Now, Anslinger reportedly was satisfied, writing, quote, "For her, there would be no more good morning heartache," end quote, Johan Harry wrote. Anslinger has succeeded in his decades-long pursuit to take down Billie Holiday, a task fueled by his own racist, white supremacist views. Now, when it came to Judy Garland, and Judy Garland's drug addiction. And Judy Garland, we know, was in The Wizard of Oz and mother to Liza Minnelli. When it came to Judy Garland's drug addiction, a white woman, Harry J. Anslinger told her to take longer vacations. In September 1962, Anslinger was even honored by President John F. Kennedy for his work on the war on drugs. While Billie Holiday unfairly met her end, her legacy and determination transcend today. We're at the point now where we applaud anything like, oh, such and such a person took a stance, end quote. They aren't going to get the hit that Billie Holiday got. They aren't going to go on to prison because they sang a song, right? So I think it's important to remember that she did that when the cost and the consequences were much, much harsher. Okay, she did this at a point in time when the cost and the consequences were much, much harsher. Okay, she had the federal government after her. So check out this article here from biography.com from February 26, 2021. Billie Holiday, how the government targeted the strange fruit singer with drug arrest, by Rachel Chang. It's a great article here. It's an important piece of history. Billie Holiday, how the government targeted the strange fruit singer with drug arrest. Okay, now I want to go to this other piece here dealing with Harry J. Anslinger. I'm going to go to this article here from timeline.com, but also one from The Atlantic. All right. And the one from The Atlantic, I talked about this a couple weeks ago. This one from The Atlantic is called How Neuroscience Reinforces Racist Drug Policy. How neuroscience reinforces racist drug policy. Brain scan, this is from June 12, 2014. Brain scans do not speak for themselves. The seemingly objective science of neuroimaging can be used to justify a moral argument for or against legal marijuana, to show it as a legitimate medicine or as a danger to your health. This is by Nathan Greenslit, June 12th, 2014. Okay. And let me see, who is this? Rachel. Hey, thanks for the donation, Rachel. Thank you. There's something here in the article I want to zoom in on, because they talk about Harry J. Anslinger in the article. When I was doing my research in 2016, preparing to do a lecture dealing with the history of the war on drugs, this is one of the articles I came across. Neuroscience participates in a sophisticated form of revisionist history. It turns public discourse away from the fact that marijuana is not illegal because it was discovered to cause brain damage. It was made illegal because of an early 20th century fear-mongering campaign to associate it with Mexican immigrants. And to understand the hatred that many people in the U.S., especially many white people in the U.S., have for Mexico and Mexicans, you have to understand about the last 150 years or so of U.S.-Mexico relations and the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 1848 that ends with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848. And the U.S., because of this treaty and going to war with Mexico, because the U.S. wanted, because Europeans here in the U.S., the United States, wanted to take over the entire North American continent. They wanted to take over the entire North American continent. And because of that treaty, the U.S. got California, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Nevada, all from Mexico because of the Mexican-American War. And then in the early 1900s, you had Mexicans coming into the U.S., and there was a hatred towards these Mexicans. So cannabis or hemp gets relabeled as marijuana, and marijuana was a Spanish term. So the hatred that many white people in this country have for Mexicans got transferred to cannabis or hemp with putting the Spanish term on it, marijuana. As long as white people were using it, it wasn't a problem. When non-white people start using these drugs and marijuana, it becomes a problem. So you relabel something that you were already using, you relabel it with a term associated with people you despise, which then changes the way people think about it. And then you launch a media campaign against marijuana, cannabis, to reshape the way people think about it, to then justify attacking people and dehumanizing and mistreating people. And this is what happened. So if we go back to this article from The Atlantic, neuroscience participates in a sophisticated form of revisionist history. It turns public discourse away from the fact that marijuana is not illegal because it was discovered to cause brain damage, but because of an early 20th century fear-mongering campaign to associate it with Mexican immigrant workers. I remember somebody talking about Mexicans were rapists and murderers and they bring drugs into this country. Who was bringing drugs into this country before Mexicans started doing it? I'm just curious. That campaign, infamously led by the first director of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, Harry J. Anslinger, culminated in the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, federal legislation that prohibitively taxed cannabis and hemp. Harry J. Anslinger had also become particularly adept at using public media to propagandize the evils of marijuana. His essay, Marijuana Assassin of Youth, was published in the American Magazine that same year. In this article, Harry J. Anslinger offered panic-inducing musings. Panic-inducing musings. How many murders, suicides, robberies, criminal assaults, holdups, burglaries, and deeds of maniacal insanity it causes each year, especially among the young, can only be conjectured, can only be guessed. Nobody knows how many people does this marijuana kill. We got to make this illegal. No one knows when he places a marijuana cigarette to his lips whether he will become a joyous reveler in a musical heaven, a mad insensate, a calm philosopher, or a murderer. Sensationalism like this was specifically aimed at white readership. Scared the hell out of white people. Sensationalism like this was specifically aimed at white readership that might worry about such unfathomably dangerous ethnic drug getting into the hands of children. Now, Harry J. Anslinger's congressional testimony directly betrayed his racist motivations to enact federal legislation against marijuana. Now, this is before he goes after Billie Holiday. This is 1937. He said this fool testified in front of Congress. This fool said, quote, "There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz music and swing music, not swinging, that's something else. We can do a show about that, but we ain't talking about that right now. Jazz and swing result from marijuana usage." This, everybody pay attention to this. This is what this fool said to Congress. Let me blow this up. Y'all ain't gonna believe. I'm trying to tell you. You don't understand how deep this is. This marijuana usage causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and any others. Whoop, there it is. That's what this is about. There it is right there. Okay. This is the same thing that was taking place in Europe with the Moors intermixing with the European population, changing the complexion of Europeans. And they said, we got to put a stop to this. This is the same thing. All right. So when you look at the lynchings that took place, a lot of the lynchings took place because of allegations of African-American men having sex with white women. A lot of that sex was consensual, to be quite honest with you. Okay. And this is what Ida B. Wells discovered when she started doing her research on lynchings. Okay. And she started finding out, and she actually wrote about this and got in her newspaper office got attacked. Ida B. Wells found out, because Ida B. Wells gets involved in the anti-lynching movement because of the Moss store murders in 1892 in Memphis, Tennessee. 3 of her friends get attacked by a white mob and they're lynched, taken out of the jail and lynched, right? Tom Moss, who was the owner of the People's Grocery Store in Memphis, Tennessee. So she started doing research, okay? She's a journalist and newspaper publisher. So she starts doing research on lynchings. And she finds out a lot of the lynchings were because of consensual sex between African-American men and white women. And then the woman's husband found out, or her brother found out, or her father found out, or something like that. And they go get the good old boys and lynch him. But it was consensual sex. So let me flip back over to this here. So every word, even the word marijuana, a Mexican Spanish word, was a strategic choice on Harry J. Anslinger's part. This word recast cannabis already in the lexicon of physicians who for decades have been using its tinctures to treat pain and incontinence as a specifically ethnic plant. They're using language. They're changing the way people think about this plant and who uses it to then justify attacking these people and jailing them, killing them, what have you. The American Medical Association, the AMA, which opposed the proposed tax, felt blindsided and duped by the 1937 hearings. Okay, so read the rest of this article here. Okay, this is from TheAtlantic.com. How neuroscience reinforces racist drug policy. And this ties into Harry J. Anslinger and the war on drugs. Okay, this is before Richard Nixon. Okay, this war on drugs doesn't lead to what some people call mass incarceration, but it's a war on drugs, and it's attacking African Americans, Hispanics, Filipinos, things like this. Now, there's another article from timeline.com, and I've posted this a couple of years ago. This came out February 2018, February 28th, 2018. Okay, exactly 3 years ago today. And I've posted this article a few times here and talked about it on this show. How a racist hate monger masterminded America's war on drugs. How a racist hate monger masterminded America's war on drugs. Harry J. Anslinger conflated drug use, race, and music to criminalize non-whiteness and create a prison industrial complex. This is by Laura Smith, February 28th, 2018. Okay, and just for the sake of time, we're going to go to that clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered here also. I'm going to squeeze that in, Jalen. All right, so get that queued up. So here we have Louis Armstrong performing at Brooklyn College in 1941, and the white youth. The white youth loved this music, and one of the things that they did not want to happen, one of the things that a lot of white people in power did not want to happen, they did not want African American youth dancing with white youth, because they know if they dance, there's going to be some intermixing taking place, and then you're going to have biracial children. They know this. Okay, so in 1930, Harry J. Anslinger was appointed to helm the newly minted Federal Bureau of Narcotics by Herbert Hoover. President Herbert Hoover became president in 1928. During the early parts of his career, Anslinger seemed little concerned about marijuana, known by most as cannabis. But when prohibition, let's see here. During the early part of his career, Anslinger seemed little concerned about marijuana, known by most as cannabis. But when prohibition ended, it looked as though Anslinger might be out of a job. So he sought a new threat to the American way, essentially manufacturing a drug war. As Johann Hari explains in the book, Chasing the Scream, The First and Last Days of the War on Drugs, who was quoted in the article from Biography. Anslinger's office was focused on cocaine and heroin, but there was relatively small numbers of users. In order to ensure a promising future for his bureau, he needed more, Hari writes. Marijuana was Anslinger's golden ticket. He used his office to trumpet the association between weed and violence so that it could be criminalized. He used his office to trumpet the association between marijuana, cannabis, and violence so that it could be criminalized. Quote, you smoke a joint and you're likely to kill your brother, end quote, he was known to have said. Now, okay, so we talked about his congressional testimony as well. We talked about that. As John Harry goes on to write, quote, jazz was the opposite of everything Harry Anslinger believed in. It is improvised, relaxed, free form. It follows its own rhythm. Worst of all, it is a mongrel music made up of European, Caribbean, and African echoes, all mating on American shores. To Harry J. Anslinger, this was musical anarchy and evidence of a recurrence of the primitive impulses that lurk in Black people waiting to emerge. Quote, it sounded his internal memo said, like the jungles in the dead of night. All right. So read the rest of this article here from timeline.com from February 28th, 2018, how a racist hate monger masterminded America's war on drugs. Harry Anslinger conflated drug use, race, and music to criminalize non-whiteness and create a prison industrial complex. And this is the same Harry Anslinger who brought down Lady Day, Billie Holiday. All right. Those watching on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting and keep this discussion going for a few more minutes. If you like this information, you can support the African History Network. We're here 6 days a week. Okay, so $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, and at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have a promotion going on for a day or two more. End of the month, Black History Month sale. Spend $100 or more on DVD lectures and digital downloads at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Get 20% off your order. Okay, that's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And we have that going for a day or two more. We have the information right on the homepage. Use promo code AHN20 off 2021, AHN 20 off 2021. And also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Be sure to register for the online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Next class is Tuesday, March 2nd, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We deal with thousands of years of history. We do the classes live. All the classes are recorded. You can go back and watch them over and over again, watch them around the world. So classes on sale, $80, regularly $130. It's going to blow you away. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have video clip, book references, everything. Okay. All right. Remember, right now, it's correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Stay tuned for the best of Reverend Al Sharpton. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. Okay, let's keep going. How's everybody doing? We're going to keep going for a few more minutes. African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Also, you can email us at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. I'm working on ads all week. We got some new advertisers that started with us. I'm working on ads all this week. And then we also have the Michael Imhotep DVD bundle pack, the 15 the Black History Month 15 DVD bundle pack, Michael Imhotep 15 DVD bundle pack for Black History Month. That's at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com also. So check that out as well. You can use the 20% off on that bundle. We just posted it here on the thread of our broadcast. We posted the link here. And when you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, we have it right on the home page here. So let me just show you this quickly. And then we'll get back to, I'm going to go to this clip here when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, February 26th. And we talked about the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Bill, Coronavirus American Rescue Plan, and raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. We discussed all of that. Okay, let's go to where is that here? Okay. So if you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and right on the home page, and then scroll down. Where am I? Just 1 second. I'm trying to find the. Okay, here we go. Yeah, when you scroll down, you'll see the info for the 20% off orders of $100 or more. You see that info there. And then information about our radio show, Mondays through Fridays, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Standard Time, Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. You can read articles that I've written here. Click right here. Also, the article dealing with the history of African American History Month. And Dr. Carter G. Woodson is there as well. Click right there. Here's information about the online course. You can register here for it. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. When you click here, it takes you to the next page. Click on Enroll. And as soon as you enroll, you can start watching the content. You scroll down. I was on the panel discussion for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Let's celebrate Black History. That was Wednesday, February 24th. So shout out to Sister Marnice Chris Jackson for inviting me onto the panel. And then here's the 15 DVD bundle pack, 15 Michael Imhotep Black History Month, 15 DVD bundle pack. And you click right here, takes you to the next page, and it shows all 15 of the titles that you get and has a description for each one of them. Okay. All right. So that's going to keep you busy for a while. All right. Let's continue here. So there was an article from thegrio.com. We'll probably talk about this on Monday's show. There was an article from thegrio.com dealing with Andra Day, who once again I think did a fantastic job as Billie Holiday. Okay. And name of this article, Andra Day on trauma of portraying Billie Holiday. I hated myself in that moment. I'm going to pull this up here. Read this. We'll talk about this. probably on Monday's show. It's from thegrio.com. The Grio has some really good articles. Let's flip over here so you can see the title. All right. What is this? Okay. Try to close out some of these ads. Andra Day on trauma of portraying Billie Holiday. I hated myself in that moment. The Grammy-nominated singer opens up about her starring role in the United States versus Billie Holiday. This is by Courtney Willis. So check out this article here. We'll talk about this probably on Monday's show. Okay, so let's switch gears here. We know that the House of Representatives passed the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that happened early Saturday morning, February 27th, early Saturday morning, Friday night going into Saturday morning. Now, it does not include the $15 an hour, raising the federal minimum wage at $15 an hour, okay? I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, February 26th. And we discussed all of this, and this discussion took place before the vote actually happened and before it passed the House of Representatives. But we discussed a number of different things here. And I'm going to go to that clip here in just a minute. So there was a good article from New York Times dealing with this also, and as well as NBC News. And we're going to talk more about this on Monday and Tuesday. Article from the New York Times: House passes $1.9 trillion stimulus as Democrats work to salvage wage raise. House passes $1.9 trillion stimulus as House works to salvage wage raise. Now, every House Republican voted against the measure early Saturday morning, underscoring the depth of the partisan division it has provoked. This bill has provoked. And this, the bill is advancing a sweeping pandemic aid package that would provide billions of dollars for unemployed Americans, struggling families, and businesses. Unemployed Americans, struggling families, and businesses. Schools, and the distribution of coronavirus vaccines. The vote was 219 to 212, with Democrats pushing the measure over unanimous Republican opposition. After hours of debate that stretched past midnight, two Democrats, Representatives Jared Golden and Kurt Schrader, both of Oregon, broke with their party and voted against the bill. So you had two Democrats vote against the bill. They need to be voted out of office. The plan would provide $1,400 in direct payments to individuals earning up to $75,000 a year, and to couples earning up to $150,000 a year. It would also expand a weekly federal unemployment benefit that is set to lapse in mid-March. Is actually March 14th. The extra $300 a week in unemployment benefits is set to lapse. Let me pull this up from the New York Times. So you can see this. Where are we? I think this, okay, not that one. Just one second, I want to pull this article up here. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So read this article from the New York Times that gives some good background information on the bill. House passes $1.9 trillion stimulus as Democrats work to salvage wage raise. Okay, now it gives some information on what's in the bill. So the plan would provide $1,400 direct payments to individuals earning up to $75,000 a year and to couples earning up to $150,000. It would also expand a weekly federal unemployment benefit that is set to lapse in mid-March, increasing the payments to $400 a week from $300 a week and extending them through the end of August 2021. It would increase the child tax credit, provide more than $50 billion for vaccine distribution, testing, and tracing, and allocate nearly $200 billion to primary and secondary schools and $350 billion to state, local, and tribal governments. All right. So check out this article here. Now, I want to go to this clip here from Roland Martin Unfiltered. So we discussed all of this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, February 26th. Okay, and this was before the actual vote took place. The vote was going to take place some hours later. All right, let's go to this clip.
You have power. End of story.
Michael, again, I made the point yesterday, and I saw some folks. They were commenting on this on the segment that we did, where I said, Democrats, if you don't pass these things, you're asking to get your butts kicked in 2022. You can't go out and make an argument to people. If you want a Democrat to replace Rob Portman, if you want a Democrat to replace Richard Burr, if you want a Democrat to replace Ron Johnson in Wisconsin, if you want a Democrat to replace Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania. I mean, the reality is Democrats have an opportunity to expand their majority. You're not going to be able to go out and convince people, hey, if y'all come out and vote and do all you can to put us in power, we're going to do what's right. Not when you had the shot.
Right. You know, when you have power, you have to wield the power because you don't know how long you're going to have it. But I talked about this last night on my show, Roland. There is an element that there's a tool that I haven't heard anybody mention yet, period, in any of these discussions. That tool is economic withdrawal, targeting certain corporations that back some of these Republicans who are standing in the way and speaking out against the $15 an hour. And what I mean by that is that, you know this, Roland, FEC.gov, Federal Elections Commission, it lists the corporations that donate to people who run for federal office, U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Senate, and President. We need to really look at, because see, as Dr. Greg Carr said yesterday on your show, there are no rules. There are no rules, okay? So we really have to take a page from Dr. King, April 3rd, 1968. I've been to the mountaintop. He said we have to always anchor our external direct action with the power of economic withdrawal. If you look at what the CEO of Costco said today, they're raising their minimum wage to $16 an hour. And he said he can't see why, $15 an hour, I should say, raising their minimum wage to $15 an hour. And he said he can't see.
No, Costco's going to 16.
Yeah.
Costco's going to 16.
That's what I thought. 16.
Go ahead. Right.
Yeah, he said he can't see why Senator Lindsey Graham has a problem with raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. It hasn't been raised in 12 years. So we really need to look at, put it 4, 5, 6 key corporations that help to back some of these Republicans financially. We need to really look at putting economic pressure on them. And then the companies like Costco who support the measure, have them really speak out as well. Because the last time the federal minimum wage was raised was 12 years ago, and that was raised by Democrats, and it was raised to $7.25 an hour. And this will lift millions of Americans out of poverty, especially millions of African Americans. So there are no rules. You have to use the power while you have it.
Absolutely. And for folks to understand, when we talk about how do you use the power, that's what Republicans are doing right now in Georgia. What they have been doing, folks, is, they are absolutely targeting the issue of voter suppression. They are passing and introducing bills at a furious pace that in many ways is going to greatly change what happened in that state. Why? Because they're angry that Black folks voted. They're angry that Black people took advantage of various rules. So check this out. Ari Berman tweeted this here. Republicans, go to my iPad. Republicans on Georgia's Senate Ethics Committee, this is an hour ago, just voted to repeal automatic voter registration, which 5 million of the state's 7.6 million voters used to register. More egregious voter suppression in Georgia.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it there. We'll talk about this some more on Monday's show because we've done over 2 hours here. So we had on Friday on a Rolling Show, we did almost 2.5 hours. Okay, then I had to do this show at 11 p.m. Friday night. So I'll share some more segments of my appearance Friday, February 26th on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You can watch it at on YouTube, Roland Martin on YouTube. We just posted a link here, or on his Facebook page, Roland Martin on Facebook. Check out this article here from Huffington Post. Costco CEO doesn't get Lindsey Graham's problem with a $15 minimum wage. Costco CEO doesn't get Lindsey Graham's problem with a $15 minimum wage. Okay. All right. So check that out as well. Okay. At our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, right before we jumped into this second story, I talked about the 15 DVD bundle pack, Michael Imhotep Black History Month 15 DVD bundle pack. We have that there on sale, and you can look and see all of the titles that come in that bundle. I think we have that also on digital download as well. If you want that on digital download, email me at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com or AHNShow at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. But when we scroll down here, just to give you a brief overview. So I have 15 lectures I've done in the past few years, 3 of them dealing with the film Black Panther. This is a almost 3-hour presentation I did dealing with the film Black Panther, a Black Panther analysis, African culture, history, and Afrofuturism. And I show how the film Black Panther ties into and relates to African history, culture, African spiritual systems, African language, different things like that. I deal with what the word Wakanda really means. We find Wakanda in the Omaha Ponca and Sioux Indian Native American languages, and it means possesses secret powers, So we have that one. We have this one here dealing with the real history of African American History Month of Dr. Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. All of that. That's an almost 3-hour presentation. Have one dealing with Malcolm X, one dealing with the revolutionary Dr. King, the distortion of the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the revolutionary, will not be televised on the television. This is another one dealing with the film Black Panther, lessons from the film Black Panther, economic guerrilla warfare, political self-defense, and how to Wakanda to vote. So I deal with how do we take the enthusiasm from the film Black Panther and use that for economic empowerment and political empowerment. This deals with the Three-Fifths Compromise of 1787 and the history of the Electoral College and how the Electoral College works. The Three-Fifths Compromise, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution did not say we were 3/5 of a human being. That's a misunderstanding of that, but also the way the count was taken, and that ties into the census. The way the count was taken was corrected by Section 2 of the 14th Amendment of 1868 also. And then in 1787, the full population of African Americans was counted as well. 1790, the first census, the full population of free African Americans. The full population of free African Americans was counted. This one here deals with entrepreneurship and economic empowerment, the 13 forms of wealth, and redistributing the pain, keys to economic empowerment and entrepreneurship for African Americans, because I taught entrepreneurship for 7 years. This ties into a lot of history as well. My degrees in business administration. This deals with the history of the national anthem, written by Francis Scott Key in 1814 during the War of 1812, the racist history of the white national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. And I tie all that into Colin Kaepernick's protest and the history of Colin Kaepernick's protests. This is a double lecture I did with Dr. David Imhotep, author of the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. So he's talking about new research from his book, and I'm dealing with great African women in history, the mothers of civilization. This is a 4-hour presentation I did, redistributing the pain, how African Americans historically fought back with economic boycotts. So this deals with documented examples, historic examples of us using different type of economic withdrawal strategies to fight back against white supremacy and racism. That's a 4-hour presentation. This one here I did in 2017 during African American History Month. The Light of Ancient Egypt Awakens the African Mind to Economic Empowerment. That's a really good presentation there. This deals with the real history of the Tuskegee experiment of untreated syphilis on the Negro male. Contrary to popular belief, they did not inject them with syphilis. I repeat, they did not inject them with syphilis. The study had 600 men in the study, 399 men in the study had an early form of syphilis called latent syphilis, L-A-T-E-N-T, where you have syphilis, but you don't have symptoms. The 201 men in the study were the control group. They did not have syphilis. So the men who had syphilis, they were denied treatment and given placebos. It was a horrible study, but they did not inject them with syphilis, as social media memes lie to you and tell you, and then don't provide any sources. So it was supposed to be a study that lasted 6 to 9 months, ended up lasting 40 years, ended in 1972. Then there was a lawsuit for reparations as well, filed by Fred Gray. Fred Gray was the same attorney who filed the lawsuit of Browder versus Gale, February 1st, 1956, which went to the U.S. Supreme Court and led to segregation on the buses in Montgomery, Alabama, being deemed as unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court. That's why the Montgomery bus boycott ended December 20th, 1956, because of the ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. And in the lawsuit of Browder versus Gale, filed February 1st, 1956. You get this 4-hour presentation. This is actually a 4-hour presentation. You get 2 DVD set, Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization. So I deal with some well-known and not so well-known African women in our history. This one right here is a good one for children. I did a Black Panther analysis for children, African culture, history, and Afrofuturism. I was presenting to 65th through 12th graders and their teachers. 65th through 12th graders and their teachers. We did this at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, and I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm showing the children as well as the teachers how the film Black Panther, how different elements of it tie into African history and culture and language, how they can use this to teach this history in the classroom. This one here, the African American resistance in the era of Donald Trump, voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. And I deal with similarities between Nixon becoming president in '68 and the backlash to the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement, and Trump becoming president in 2016. I also deal with the rapid voter suppression that took place in 2016. And then you also get this 3-hour presentation, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas. This is a 3-hour presentation, and I deal with the pre-Christian winter solstice celebration celebrated by many Europeans, like the Roman festival of Saturnalia, that lead to the Christmas, lead to the Christian celebration of Christmas, and deal with the whole origins of that and how this ties into ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, with Asar, Aset, and Heru, who the Greeks called Osiris, Isis, and Horus, and Heru being born of a virgin birth on December 25th. To the virgin Aset, who the Greeks called Isis. Okay, so you can purchase these all individually or in the bundle. It's the Michael Imhotep Black History Month 15 DVD bundle pack. This will keep you studying all year round. And that's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, and we posted the link here, and you can also use the. Right now we have the promo code. We have the 20% off orders of $100 or more. So you can use the promo code on that for a limited time only. All right, look, we have to get out of here. We'll be back Monday. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So when you support us through Cash App or PayPal, when you register for our online course, when you buy the DVD lectures or digital downloads, that helps us keep being here 6 days a week, keep doing the research, pay some of these bills, pay for some of these services that I use, because I'm broadcasting through Restream right now. I'm not broadcasting through Facebook, I'm broadcasting through Restream. That's what it said. That's why you see the Restream logo. I have to pay Restream $209 a month for this service, and that's with a 30% discount. So all that helps us to keep doing this and keep educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. These shows are in audio podcast format, and I got to upload some of the last couple audio podcasts. At our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, click on Listen to Podcasts. Okay, listen to podcasts. And we have over 1,000 audio podcasts there of these shows. And then also, wherever you get your audio podcast from, search for the African History Network show. Okay, right here. Just click right here, listen to podcasts, and it takes you to our Blog Talk Radio page. And we have over 1,000 podcasts here. But wherever you get your podcast from, search for the African History Network show. Okay, so we're on iHeartRadio and Castbox and FM Player and TuneIn and iTunes. We're on a number of different platforms. Stitcher, we're on a number of different platforms. Okay, and at iHeartRadio, download the iHeartRadio app. You can listen to 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF, through iHeartRadio, or you can listen to it on your AM dial in Detroit. It's a FCC regulated radio station. It's terrestrial radio. It's not internet radio. But you can also listen to through the iHeartRadio app to 910 AM, the Superstation. And for the African History Network, we have a page on iHeartRadio. Just search for the African History Network show, and they have a few hundred of our podcasts there. Okay. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And thanks for tuning in tonight. Hopefully you learned something. Check out the movie, The United States versus Billie Holiday. And we'll probably talk about this some more. And talk to you all tomorrow night. Peace. Thanks for tuning in.